Men are logical and women are emotional. Something that is so widespread, like a pandemic, right? Everyone agrees it is so, but it is not actually so. And I can assure you, I think you're guilty. You look like you're guilty. What you find between the man and the woman as differences that makes people say men are logical and that makes people agree as well that women are emotional. It's all coming from social conditioning and expectations. In many cultures, boys are encouraged to suppress emotion and be rational, like from a tender age. A 4-year-old boy, a 2-year-old boy may not be allowed to cry because he's a twin and his twin is a girl. So the girl is pampered and the boy is told to man up. He's a man. And girls are expected to express feelings more openly. See a girl sitting down sulking, find a boy sitting down sulking with a young boy, and then you just hear someone say, what's going on? What's wrong with you? Are you fine? And then he says, I hit my leg. What's the response he'll get? You've been playing, I've been running up and down. Come and sit down in one place. But if the girl that has been playing too, running up and down, says, I hit my leg, oh my baby, sorry, come. Men are being socialized to not express their emotions. Not that they lack any adequacy in regards to the center from whence their emotions are powered. And over time, that's your behavior. When you do something with trouble, your brain begins to adapt and capture that sequence of events. So emotions and logic are not opposites. If you talk about them as if they are opposites, I need you to make an emotional decision, not a logical one. Good decision making actually depends on both. For you to make good decisions, you have to be emotionally sound and you have to be logically sound as well in your reasoning. Otherwise, you are depending on good sentence of the thing to make that decision. Hello there, it's Dr. Dennis again, and I want to welcome you especially to the second episode of Relationship Drive. And in this episode, we're going to be looking at something very, very important. Something that is so widespread, like a pandemic, right? Everyone agrees it is so, but it is not actually so. So it's very important that we pay attention, all right? And I can assure you, I think you're guilty. You look like you're guilty. All right. So, and we'll be looking at the popular notion that says men are logical and women are emotional. If you followed episode 1 properly, you'd notice I did not highlight any differences that was supposed to be responsible for this variation between men and women. All right. We highlighted quite a number of differences. You should go back and see episode 1 if you've not seen it. But now we're here to look at that notion. Men are logical, women are emotional. Almost everyone uses it, all right? So biologically, both men and women have the same core brain systems responsible for logic and emotion. You see, regions involving reasoning, that's the prefrontal cortex. The woman's prefrontal cortex and the man's prefrontal cortex are not in any way different. Are you seeing this? Concerning emotions, the amygdala is a part of the brain. The amygdala, it's the center from where emotion is regulated. I've done my research and I want to show you some things, very interesting thoughts, and I'd like to hear what you think when we're done with this episode. So you find that the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala, these are regions in the brain that control both logic and that's reasoning and emotions respectively, exist and function in everyone, both male and female, with the same proportion. All right. So why then do we say men are logical and women are emotional? So there are some average differences in hormone levels like testosterone and estrogen, which we mentioned a lot of during the first episode. You should go see that. It's right there on the YouTube channel. All right. That can slightly influence behavior, but they don't split people into logical versus emotional categories. They don't. What you find between the man and the woman as differences that makes people say men are logical and that makes people agree as well that women are emotional. It's all coming from social conditioning and expectations. It is social conditioning and expectations that's producing these supposed alternate realities, one in the man and the other in the woman, all right? So you find that in many cultures, boys are encouraged to suppress emotion and be rational, like from a tender age. A 4-year-old boy, a 2-year-old boy may not be allowed to cry because he's a twin and his twin is a girl. So the girl is pampered and the boy is told to man up. He's a man. And girls are expected to express feelings more openly. See a girl sitting down sulking, find a boy sitting down sulking, a young boy, and then you just hear someone saying, what's going on? What's wrong with you? Are you fine? And then he says, I hit my leg. What's the response he will get? You've been playing, I've been running up and down. Come and sit down in one place. But if the girl that has been playing too, running up and down, says, I hit my legs. Oh, my baby, sorry, come. Are you seeing what I'm saying? Men are being socialized to not express their emotions. Not that they lack any adequacy with regards to the center from whence their emotions are powered. All right? No, no, no. And the same for women. So girls are allowed or expected to express feelings more openly. And over time, that shapes behavior, you see, because when you do something repeatedly, your brain begins to adapt and, you see, capture that sequence of events. So within the next scenario where he's supposed to express himself and cry out loud, when he remembers how that he was almost slapped for playing around, hurting himself, you see, and then crying, expecting comfort, and he was almost beaten. As a young boy, what will he do? He will man up, see, and bottle it. All right. And then that's the beginning. Then you find him suppressing his emotions and then giving more expression eventually to logic and reasoning. Also, emotions and logic are not opposites. You want to think about that. Emotions and logic are not opposites. People talk about them as if they are opposites. Okay, if you are not, this is, I need you to make an emotional decision, not a logical one. They are not opposites. All right, yes, statements like that, they are not opposites. Good decision making actually depends on both. For you to make good decisions, you have to be emotionally sound and you have to be logically sound as well in your reasoning. All right. All right. So you find that in fields like business and engineering, people rely on emotional signals like intuition, risk reward ratios, all right, risk perception, empathy, and all of these alongside, critical analysis of the situation, the timing and all of that. But emotions and logic are not mutually exclusive, all right? For a person to make a proper decision, all right, you need to understand both. You are depending on both centers of your brain to make that decision. Now we're going to zoom in on a little bit of history. How did these things come about? I did a bit of research and I want to show you what I found. If you look at individuals rather than stereotypes, you'll find that they are highly analytical women. Some of you listening to me, ladies, you know what I'm talking about. Your mind processes. And then you find men too, they are highly emotional men. Come on now. You know what I'm talking about now. Is it not? Yes, they're highly emotional men, okay? And most people are somewhere in between. It's not a sharp contrast, men are, women are. No, you can never do that. They are not, you can never put such rigid assumptions on both genders. All right, so let's go on. So it's less about gender and more about personality, upbringing, context. You see, context here would mean the society in which they grew, times and conditions, and I can even assure you, even the era in which you're living. If you're living in a third world country and you're living in a first world country, your responses will be different. If you are born and brought up in Nigeria, Jegunle, or you are born and brought up in Los Angeles, America, come on now, your responses will be different, Come on, you know what I'm talking about, right? Let's not go into that. Now, how did these things come about? Okay, the man equals logical, woman equals emotional idea. It didn't appear out of nowhere. It came from somewhere, all right? And over time, it has come to be instituted as a way of reasoning accepted by all. Meanwhile, it's not so. Ancient philosophers framed it early, agreed to this, and began to think so because of the era they lived in, all right? They argued that men were naturally suited for reason and leadership, while women were more tied to the body and emotion, you see? And these weren't scientific conclusions. They reflected the social hierarchies of the time where men held power. What do you expect from a thinker in a dispensation or in a time when women were not even allowed to vote? What do you think that thinker would say? They had already, accepted and embraced those ideologies that the woman did not have a right to participate in anything logical. All right. All she's suited for is to cater to the needs of the man, her husband, back at home in bed, and taking care of her children back at home, emotional decisions. All right, and all of those. But men were suited for political positions. Men were suited for kingship, opportunities, and authorities. You see all of these things. So it was that hierarchy. You see that time, that era, all right, that dispensation of time where men held power that began to frame such reasoning patterns. Also, we look at religion and tradition. Religion and tradition also reinforced it. Religion and tradition enforced it. In many societies, religious and cultural norms positioned men as decision makers and positioned women as caretakers. All right. So this does not mean in any way that the woman inherently lacked a logical center, nor in any way the man inherently lacked an emotional center. No, that was not the case. So the positioning of religion and tradition reinforced this mindset and this way of thinking. Over generations, this division started to feel natural, even though it was largely constructed. All right. So over time, with repetition, as men began to, think like that, and you see, pattern their lives and decision making in that direction. It began to become more culturally accepted, and now in our day and time, you find it everywhere. Everyone is saying it as though it's true, but it's not true. Come on. Also, early science tried to justify it. In the 19th century, some scientists claimed women's brains were smaller or less capable of rational thought. Women, do you agree? Do you agree? Nah, I know you don't. All right, you are not incapable of rational thinking. Okay, so for example, they suggested then that women were less evolved intellectually than men. But current studies do not agree. It's not so. I mean, even outworkings in our day and time, we have women discovering a lot of things. Well, we have women pioneering a lot of fields that men are yet to break into. You find that these ideas are now considered biased and flawed, but they help cement the stereotype. Though we now agree in current day and time, 21st century woman agrees that no, there's no difference between me and the man intellectually, but this statement, men are logical, women are emotional, was cemented and powered by this ideology that women are less intellectually significant than men. Also, industrial society locked roles in place. You see, during industrialization, you found that men worked in jobs requiring analytical or technical skills, while women were often confined to domestic roles. That division made it look like men were more logical simply because they were practicing those skills more often. And finally, one more thing, our media and pop culture keep repeating it. Modern movies, books, and even jokes still lean on this stereotype. So once a pattern is repeated enough, people start to internalize it. You find that the stereotype, or rather the concept men are logical, women are emotional, is a stereotype, all right? And it is not so. I have just shown you first that anatomically in the man and in the woman, the brain areas that are responsible for emotional processing, that's the amygdala, and the brain areas that is responsible for logical reasoning, which is the prefrontal cortex, is both in the man and in the woman, and there are no differences there. So you see, the man is capable of emotions as much as the woman is capable of emotions. And the man is capable of logic and reasoning as much as the woman is capable of logic and reasoning. And whichever one you exercise, you find that one towering above the other. This brings us to the close of this episode. Still Dr. Dennis _official. So subscribe, leave us a like. Also, we're expecting your comments in the comment section. We're also on TikTok and Instagram. And I'll be